almost anything. So just do what you love. Live it, share it, you know it's what you're dreaming of. What we love, what we do makes a difference in me and you.
Hey everyone, it's Pauline from Stampin' Stampede, and today I'm going to show you how to use the adhesive sheets. So the adhesive sheets are on a page 167 of the annual catalogue. It's number 13. They're adhesive sheets and they're $17.50. Now in this pack you actually get 12 sheets. So that's 12 sheets of 6" by 12 inches. Okay, so you get quite a lot when you buy them, and I'll pull one out for you. When you look at the sheet, it has two sides to it. So this one is flush and I can't feel anything, but I can see indentations here. So if I flip it over, there's actually cut lines going all the way down the 12 inches. So this side is the sticky side and the other side is not. So what I chose to do with my sheets, so that you don't have to waste too much of them, is I actually cut mine into 3 sections. So that way then I can actually manipulate it, use up what I need, because you don't need to stick it on every part of the card, but I'll take you from the beginning to start with. So what I did was, first of all, was take the sheet and I cut it the size of my dies, and I'm using the Christmas pine cones dies for this. So this is going to avoid you having to use any multi-purpose glue to adhere. Now this one's not too bad because you actually have large sections, but it's really tricky to try and get some of the glue on the outer side. So what I did was actually cut these to pretty much fit this size of the adhesive sheet to fit the die. Okay, now it's not perfect and I didn't want it to be because I really don't feel that you need to have this much adhesive on these dies anyway, but I'm going to show you how this one works. So for the card, for this Christmas card, so you start off with, what I'm using is, I've got my cherry cobbler base card. I've got a piece of Whisper White that is cut 9.5 centimeters by about 14 centimeters to be a layer on here. All right. Then I've got 2 greens that I'm just going to use for this card so that it shows you how to do it. So I've got my shaded spruce and I've got my old olive. So to start with, what I'm going to do is put down the adhesive onto my shaded spruce. So I'm going to lay that down on here. Oh, didn't want the 2 to come off, but we're going to go with it, so that's okay. All right, so just laying that down onto here and that down onto here. Now I have got a little bit extra, and that's okay because I can trim that off, and you will actually get a little bit of this glue stuck to you here, but don't stress because it actually just rolls off your fingers anyway. So let me just trim this. All right, get rid of that. All right. So now I've got this onto here. I then am going to actually cut it out. So I'm going to run it through my Big Shot. Now, when I've used my Big Shot, I do need a shim, which is what I'm using my basic grey for, is a shim to act as an extra layer because it is quite detailed, especially with the other die too. It's very detailed. So I found I needed a shim in that. But let's give it a go onto the using our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. All right, so let's see how this one goes. All right, so I've got my plates and my multi-purpose platform. So that all goes in. And then cardstock and our die on top and top cutting mat, and let's give that a roll through. And I want to see if this one will actually just go through on the one turn. Let's see how that cut, because I know on my big shot I have to do it twice. Yep, and I'm going to need to go back on this one again. It is quite intricate, so there is a lot to cut out. So just run it back through again. All right, let's see how that went. Yep, that's a lot better. Yep, all right, so I can work with that. All right, so that worked quite well, but again, 2 run-throughs on the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, but I didn't need a shim, whereas with my big shot, I actually did need to have an additional shim in there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is peel my die. Comes off really easy, and then just working all of this, going to peel away all of the excess. So just carefully manipulate that out of there. So now that I've got the outer side, I'm not worried too much about the inside, but what I'm carefully doing now, that is actually where one of the joins was. So now just carefully peel away this layer, and what happens is actually the glue stays behind, and so then you can actually stick it down. Now I'm not too worried, these are actually all my little extra bits that I couldn't be bothered poking out as I went through all of this, and it's just coming away with the paper from the adhesive anyway, so that's okay. And any other little bits that I am missing, I'm actually just going to go back with my paper piercing tool or your take a pick tool and poke out any of those little bits and pieces. So it's quite sticky, but just remove all of that paper from the other side. Now you can use part of this or all of it. So if I was actually just going to use some of this die, I could actually stop that along here and just use the piece that I am going to use. So there is an advantage if you don't want to use all of the piece. You can actually get 2 cards out of this piece, but we'll show this. Brush all that out of the way. So, and if it gets stuck, just give it a little flick under there with your paper pierce or your take a pick tool just to lift up any of those. So you see how that was nice and easy to come through, and now what you can do is just remove any of the bits that haven't. So that is now completely got adhesive on it. So I'm going to grab my piece of Whisper White that has my textured Tasteful Textures die. I've run that through with the embossing folder, and I'm just starting at one end, and I'm going to carefully press down all of this onto there. All right, so everything is now stuck onto that. And then this is actually going to go onto my red, my cherry cobbler, sorry. So I'm not too worried about the overhanging. If I am, I can actually easily just come along there and trim off those excess bits there. That won't matter at all. So for the next layer, again, we're going to do the same technique again. And I'm going to use the inside of the die, the other layer that comes with this Christmas pine cones. All right, so just taking my, find the edge, there we go. So if you're not going to use it all, just snip off what you don't use and save it for another piece. And I'll show you a card in a minute of what I have actually done using those little edge bits. So just tear this off. And it doesn't matter if you are straight or crooked as such, just get it on the cardstock somewhere there. All right. And again, just trimming off my excess. If you really wanted to be pedantic, you could actually reuse all of these little bits and pieces and stuff too, so don't feel like you need to waste any of it there. All right, now we're going to get this, and I'm going to run that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I'll grab this. So the sun's just gone off my room, so that's made the screen a little bit better. I'm sitting out in the craft room today, and Nathaniel's just chilling out and pottering around the house, and Stephen's decided to mow the lawn and get rid of all the grass and stuff. So yeah, not that it's growing that much during winter, but we're now in spring, so hay fever's kicked in, and yeah, so we're going to see how we go with that. But it's also our 29th wedding anniversary today as well. So last night I cooked a baked dinner with all the baked veggies and everything, and I also did a pear, coconut, hazelnut, cobbler crumble type thing for dessert for us rather than doing it tonight. It was a little bit cooler yesterday, so it was a good time to have the oven on, but I didn't want to do that today. All right, so how are we going? Yeah, see, now this one might have needed another run through, so let me just grab that back because it's going to need a third roll through on this one. And I put them on the floor, so just give me a sec, pop that there. That is the advantage to not pulling off the die straight away, because you do have that option. And just for good measure, I'll go back another way. There we go. All right, so just carefully pull away the die, and off it comes. So just tap out all those bits. All right, so then all we need to do is just carefully pull away all of this part of the rubbish. So just give it a little tweak and a tug and a pull, and it should come away fairly easy from the die. Okay, so now that I've got all the back removed, I'm just going to go through and just pick out some of the additional pieces that are stuck inside. All right, so I could use the paper piercer for this, but I'm going to actually try and see whether or not I can do what I did with this other piece and see if I can actually just pull off the adhesive side. So just carefully just pulling. See how most of those inner bits actually stick to the adhesive, so it is an advantage, and you don't really need to be worrying too much. Now, you don't need to also worry about these tiny bits either, because you do actually have quite a fair bit of adhesive on the rest of the actual die. So I think it's something that do it if you want, don't do it if you don't want to, but I think it's got most of the adhesive on here. But we'll just peel it all away. Get off. So it's really just the edges of the die that you do want to get off, because that's sort of where you want that to stick down onto your base card. So let me just get rid of that. Get rid of that, and you'll find you'll get lots of bits stuck to your fingers and everything too, but that's okay. It's actually still pretty sticky and comes away relatively easy off that. All right, so we'll keep sticking. There we go. All right, so now what we need to do is work out which way it has to go onto the die. So I've got an acorn there, there and there, so it's going to go about like that size. Alright, so it's going to go there. Alright, so I'm just going to gently lay down the acorn over there, and it is meant to give it like a two-tone effect. Alright, so don't feel that if it's missing, oops, need to lift that up. So if it's not meant to lay directly on top of everything, okay? So you've got a bit of time to manipulate it and just move it around, stick it down, and then, yep, sort of just falls into place, and it is meant to give it a two-layer look. So otherwise it would defeat the purpose if we were actually getting it to overlay all of that. All right, so that is now all stuck down. Just give it a press everywhere. All right, now, so the acorns or the brushes, whatever, bottle brushes, whatever they are, that's what you are sort of more trying to line up, I guess, for a better thing with this Christmas pinecone dies. Now, I'll show you what I did with this card. I actually only stuck down half of the actual part of the flowers, so I only used half of this die to stick down onto here. So I did exactly the same thing, but I only used half the die, so I only peeled off half of the adhesive, and the rest I've got for another card. Then what I did was actually using the Bedazzling 6" by 6" Celebration Specialty paper. Now what you want to do with this, what I did, if you want to do it this way, is I've added some of the adhesive to the backside of the paper. All right. Then what I've actually done, I just was seeing if it was a little bit thinner. Yeah, see, that actually might come away and give you a little bit less to cut through, but it worked. I don't have a problem with that. I was just having a play. So what you do here is lay down strips or bits of the adhesive sheet. Then when you need to do this though, just a tip, make sure you don't cut your die this side because it will be a mirror image. So make sure that then you cut through using this side of the die. So if you wanted to bling up your acorns on this side, you can. If you then wanted to actually make these another layer on top of it, you can actually go ahead and cut out other ones on there, so you can make lots of different variations of this card. So but for this one, what I was doing, so that's just another idea there that you can use. And so this now gets stuck down onto here, just using a bit of some multi-purpose adhesive. So the Bedazzling is a little thick, so yeah, I wondered whether or not you could actually separate some of this so that it actually wasn't as thick to cut through. Just was curious to see whether or not taking out some of that back section of the paper might have actually made it a little bit less bulky. But it worked. I didn't really have too much of an issue, and what I was able to do was peel away the image. All right, so now that's all stuck down. I'm just going to grab some cherry cobbler and gold trim ribbon from the Christmas catalogue, and I'm just going to bring that around here to create a bow. And I just tie a double knot. Just got a little bit too much on that side, I think, so bring that back. Okay, so then all I have to do is actually add some words to my card, and that is done. So there's that. I could even just leave that hanging like that, but I'll see what it looks like with a finished bow on it. And just to secure the bow to keep it in its position, I'll actually just use a bit of just some mini glue dots, pop those underneath this ribbon just to make sure that it is actually secure in its place. So I'm just going to pull that and make that the same size and then secure those. So trim the ribbon and then grab some mini glue dots and just have all these mini glue dots left over from kits, and thought it's a good way to actually use them up rather than getting a roll of the mini glue dots. So popping that down, lifting that up. All right, grab another one. So just peel away the paper and just securing my bow. So now I just have to add some words to my card and I am done. So I hope that that has helped you, and I'm hoping that yeah, you can see the advantage to having the adhesive sheets, because it does make this job a little bit easier rather than you trying to get around all of those little fiddly bits with the multi-purpose adhesive, or trying to stick down those little bits because they are a bit fiddly. But like I said, you can manipulate those sheets and cut them and do whatever you like. So they are our 2 cards for today. So thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment if you can, and don't forget there's an amazing joining offer during celebration, and that's due to run out at the end of this month. So you get to pick $235 worth of product and a free additional bundle of your choice from the Christmas catalogue, and you only have to pay $169. So it's a great time to join our team, and yeah, you get lots of things and lots of tips and lots of incentives as well. So it's awesome. So yeah, I've been a demonstrator now for coming up to 14 years this September at the end of the month. So yeah, if you wish to join, just reach out and I can give you some information. Thanks so much. Bye.
So just do what you love.